The coronavirus outbreaks adding new evidence of racial disparities in health, but also in the local economy. It's expected businesses owned by people of color, along with their employees, will be especially hard hit. One response to that is a coalition of nonprofits with backers that include charitable foundations associated with Eastern Bank and Berkshire Bank. It's known as the Business Equity COVID-19 Emergency Fund. To tell us about the effort is one of the coalition members, the executive director of the Foundation for Business Equity, Glenn Lloyd. Thank you very much for being with us, Glenn.
Good to be here, Chris.
Yeah. Glenn, many people are familiar with you from City Fresh Foods and working in food services for many years. You're a success story about people of color going into business ventures. Tell me about the people who followed that path and who are stumbling right now because of the outbreak.
Yeah, sure, Chris. Yeah, being an entrepreneur myself, love our entrepreneurs. Yeah, this has been surreal. I mean, there's been folks who I've worked with over the years, over the decades actually, who literally one day they're active and the next they're laying off 80, 90% of their staff. So it's been emotional. These are real people. And unfortunately, Chris, you know, in our community, I'm talking mostly, Black, Latino, folks of color, sometimes our balance sheets are not as strong, our networks are not as robust, and so there's a low level of extra fragility within our company. So when things like this come through, COVID-19, we're even impacted more so.
Tell me about the importance of these local businesses, because economic uplift, it's not about waiting for some big name like Amazon to give people a lot of low-paying jobs. This is about people working from the grassroots on up to create not just jobs but wealth. Isn't that the real importance?
Absolutely. It's a combination. I think one reason we spend so much energy around how to support our Black and Latino entrepreneurs and their businesses is exactly that. This is about equity building. And so in terms of the ownership, but at the same time, a lot of your Black and Latino owners are hiring more Black and Latino employees. So there is a workforce side of the equation. A lot of these companies are, you consider, anchors in their own way in the communities. And so they're vital. And I think what I'm very concerned about is, as this thing kind of has come through, the fragility and susceptibility of these companies not being around after this is shocking. And this is a direct link into the economic well-being of our communities.
Of course, what you're also doing with this fund is you're doing something locally that's not being done at a wider level, especially at the federal level. Why is that so important right now?
Yeah, I think what we've seen, Chris, so we've seen amazing things. We've seen the federal government essentially giving out grants to small businesses across the country, right? These are grants, these are loans that are forgivable through the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program. And what we've also seen is usually those who have stronger relationships with their bankers, or their numbers are together in a different way through their tax consultants and their lawyers, are able to get the information together quicker. You also have a language issue. I mean, a lot of this stuff is in English. So when you add all that up, we see these results coming through where a lot of your more established non-minority companies are first in line and getting that resource. I think it took 2 weeks or so to run through $349 billion. We're hoping in this next round coming out that we can make sure our folks are front in line. This fund that we put together is really to help mitigate that. How do we get capital, relief capital, right in the hands of the folks that are not getting these resources and who clearly can be very useful.
Capital usually means a loan, even if you got a break on the interest rate. So how can a loan help a business person right now who just does not see the light at the end of the tunnel yet?
Yeah, and I think it's very important for us to really be clear what's going on here. So I just mentioned the PPP. These are technically loans, but they're forgivable loans if you do certain things like your payroll, paying your rent, utilities, and certain interest, I guess, on some debts. If you do those things as an entrepreneur, you don't have to pay it back, right? So that actually is almost free money, and so we're encouraging our Black Latino businesses to know that and to take advantage of that.
Well, Yeah, one silver lining in the crisis is that there are new demands for products and services. Can this funding effort that you're involved in help some of the local businesses tap into that?
Yeah, so what we've done, Chris, is so it's been a coalition of some great local organizations, backed by the Black Economic Council of Massachusetts, Amplify Latinx, Commonwealth Kitchen, Eugene, the Boston Foundation, and the Foundation for Equity have come together and yeah, exactly, provide real money. And these are term loans, but really they also are acting very similar to the government's forgivable loan. So we're hoping if folks get to the other side of the storm and once they're healthier, if they return back that principal without interest, that'd be great. It goes back into our ecosystem. But we're trying to take that pressure off the balance sheet of a typical, lending instrument.
Well, even before the crisis, we had another disparity. Many of these businesses were underrepresented when it came to getting government contracts. We know about that from the city. Will there be expertise in this fund to maybe close that gap a little bit to help some of these businesses?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Chris. So not only is the coalition trying to get relief capital, as we're calling it, out to these companies, but also as part of it, we are assigning or deploying response teams. These are high quality technical assistant teams that help with planning strategy, looking at the financial health, and how do we prepare for the next few months, looking at any level of crisis management that rolls into HR, looking at market impact, potential pivot, level of pivot. So these are very skilled individuals who are working with now these companies, and we're offering that free of charge. That's free TA that comes with the relief fund, and then we're hoping with our ecosystem, our relationships, our network, that also leads to potential contracts and business and customers and so on and so forth, which has been part of our original ecosystem.
Tell me a little bit with some of the financial support behind this campaign. I mean, there are a couple of banks involved with Boston Foundation. I see this interesting mix of, well, maybe some self-interest, but also community interest. Tell me the story about how that has come together.
Yeah, no, I think, you have private banks stepping up. You mentioned Eastern Bank, Berkshire Bank. You have private companies. Cummings Properties was one of our early supporters. And you have foundations, the EOS Foundation and the Boston Foundation. So it's been a mix and more, and I'm mentioning some high level, but there's been more and more hopefully is coming in.
Right. Well, we should mention, I'm sure you're swamped with demands for help, so maybe additional help is going to be down the line a bit, but if people want to maybe donate to this cause, or if people want to find out about getting help, are there ways they can do that? Sure,
yeah. The one easy way is just go to our website, fbequity.org, and there's contact information there. And we'd love to talk to you about what we're doing with this fund.